Hello and welcome to my first book critique. Here is me with all of the books that I read. They were all some form of picture book, and I got to read a lot of really great ones. The featured book that I chose was Going Someplace Special by Patricia McKissack. It's a historical fiction book for ages 4 to 9, and it's about a girl named Trisha Ann who is growing up in the 1950s, and she just faces a lot of discrimination based on her race. But her grandmother tells her about, she calls it Someplace Special, which is the library that is welcome to all. It's not segregated by color, and they basically just accept everyone. So she goes on a journey by herself to go find the library and find peace and comfort there. I made 2 lesson plans, a 3rd grade social studies lesson plan and an English language arts lesson plan for kindergarten. In the 3rd grade one, I would introduce the lesson by reading a quote from Rosa Parks. It says, "Racism is still with us, but it is up to us to prepare our children for what they have to meet, and hopefully we shall overcome." And then I would explain that in the 1950s, most people were not treated with the same equality they are today, and that we've come a long way with the acceptance of races and cultures in America. And then we would read Going Someplace Special together, and then I would open up a discussion about life in the 1950s and just the limitations on what people of color could do and couldn't do. And then we would take the discussion to a Nearpod activity where the students would be asked an open-ended question about the book, and this would allow them to be creative with their answers, where they could bring in different ideas about just the 1950s, not just about the book. It would also allow them to collaborate with each other and come up with answers together. This would allow for communication and for critical thinking, because they would have to think about just different answers that aren't just what everybody else is saying, because they will be able to read their classmates' answers. And then here's the kindergarten English language arts lesson plan, would just be introduce the book by talking about how illustration in books is used to explain what is happening without having to read the words first, because the standard I chose was about prompting students to figure out what is going on in the story based off of the illustrations and explaining how the illustrations relate to the story. And then we would read the book, and I would stop on each illustration so that they could understand what was going on based off of the illustrations. And then afterwards, I would ask them what they think about the book and about the different people that Trisha Ann encountered, were they positive or negative, just to make sure that they know that she was treated badly, so that they understand that part and can take that home, their new knowledge about life back then. And then the activity would be each student is shown a picture from the book, and they're asked to explain what part of the story was happening in that picture, so that each student gets to participate and gets a different part of the story, making sure that they paid attention during the reading. The next 2 books are Barkus and Newt, both stories about animals. Barkus is about a boy. On his 7th birthday, he receives a puppy as his gift, and he doesn't want to share it with his sister, but when she shares something special with him, he learns about sharing, and he just realizes the importance of not being selfish. And then Newt is about a salamander who becomes friends with a bug and just goes on an adventure, encountering new things. Madeline is book 4. It's about a little girl who's the smallest in her orphanage, and she's the only one with red hair, and it just talks about how brave she is on the different adventures that they go on throughout the book, and she causes some problems for her caretakers. This book is interesting because it has some nice imagery that goes along with the story, such as the first page that says, "In an old house in Paris that was covered in vines," and it just really gives good images for the children. Many Moons is the 5th book, and it's about a princess who tells her father, the king, that she's ill and that the only way she'll get better is if she has the moon. And so basically he tries to find a way to get her the moon. The next book, book 6, is A Chair for My Mother. It's about a little girl and her mother who save up money so that they can buy her mother a nice chair that she can sit on whenever she gets home from her exhausting work in a diner. So it learns about, the children would learn about money saving and just working hard for things. And then the next book is My Name is Sangol. It's about a boy who moves to America and he learns that nobody can say his name. And it's kind of sad, but at the end, he has a happy ending, that it's not always about whether people can say your name, but if people accept you. The next book is Gregory the Terrible Eater. It's kind of a parody of picky eaters, because the goat doesn't want to eat the unhealthy things that most goats eat, like trash. He wants to eat like carrots and vegetables. So it's just a play on the typical picky eater problem for parents.